Hi there, and welcome to Canceling COVID, a real platform to talk about what's happening in our community. I'm Tanya Rivens. We're putting a real face to real problems that COVID has created in our community. And today we've got an exciting show. The slow vaccine rollout is the big concern, and multiple North Carolina hospitals and county health departments report getting fewer dosages that rather this week, making it extremely difficult to keep up with the vaccine demand. The state is getting its first federal shipment of 120,000 vaccines today, and Governor Cooper is scheduled to speak in about an hour about the rollout. Now, this comes as President Biden promises 300 million Americans will be vaccinated by the end of the summer. Some people say that's a bold prediction and quite a goal, but we're encouraged that at least we have some type of benchmark. Now, North Carolina is prioritizing mass vaccination sites to get more vaccines to more people. Someone's phone is ringing. That's okay. They're trying to get more vaccines to more people faster. And what we're going to do is probably my next guest, who is working in his office, is bring in Dr. Ricky Woods. He's the pastor of First Baptist Church West. Good morning, Dr. Woods. Good afternoon. I don't know why I always say good morning. Good afternoon, Dr. Woods.
Good afternoon, Tanya.
Thank you for taking the time to join us. That was probably your phone call. You're
It
awful
was.
busy. Yeah, I know you're busy, so I'm glad you're taking some time to speak with us. You're an advocate for seniors and others in the community, and you've worked so hard. I know all the work that you put in helping with others in our community. And you organize a vaccine event at the church, you and some others, and you're the pastor of the oldest African American church in the Queen City.
Baptist. Oldest Baptist.
Oldest Baptist church in the Queen City. That's quite an accomplishment there and quite a bit of leadership that you've had over the years, and we commend you for that. But I would like to kind of get your thoughts on what you think the role is of faith leaders in the community when it comes to responding to COVID.
Well, I think one of the things that we have to do is we have to be involved in helping to educate our members concerning COVID. There are so many out there that had difference of opinions early on. There were people who did not take this pandemic seriously, and so they were not wearing masks. They were not practicing social distancing, and we quickly saw community spread. So I think that we have an obligation both to educate our persons, and then we also have an obligation to be responsible with them. So we have postponed having public worship. We're doing all of our services virtually and remotely out of erring on the side of safety for our parishioners. So educating parishioners, acting in their best interest and ensuring their safety are at the top of the list of things that I think that we need to be doing during this COVID experience.
And Dr. Woods, you have quite a bit of activities there at First Baptist West in
Correct.
reference to the community youth. And we're just kind of focusing on your work with seniors, but not to take away from all of the work that you do. I know the seniors and others that come across your ministry daily, they've shared some of their concerns and apprehensions. And you kind of talked about not taking it seriously enough. But what are they saying about their concern about taking the vaccine?
Well, one of the first questions I got was, Pastor, would you take it? People sort of look to their religious leader as to be a model or a guide for them. I immediately began getting some education about the vaccine. So I talked to healthcare providers, uh, got some information sent to me from public health as well, talked with our public health director. And once getting some clarity on the vaccine and how it would work, my response to people after that was yes, that I would take it. And I've been encouraging people to get the vaccine as well.
That's great. And education is a big part of everything. And of course, a lot of people like to go back to what happened in the past. But I think one of the issues in the past was miseducation. So it's
Oh, correct.
great to see. Absolutely. Now, you and I was so excited when you shared this with me. We were talking about something else, and you shared that you all had organized an event last week where people, seniors and our elders, were able to come and get the vaccinations at your church. What a great idea. How did that originate and where did it come from?
Well, it goes back almost a year, even before we had the vaccine. When COVID first uh, appeared in our community, I was very concerned about the lack of available testing, particularly in the African American community. And talking with leaders from Atrium Health was able to convince them to come out and set up a mobile testing site in our parking lot. We used that as a means of as a springboard to get them to go to other churches to do testing as well. And so that's still the continued model now, where you have most of the testing being done out in the community. And we made it very clear that when a vaccine was available, our treatment, whatever that would be available. We wanted to look at using the same model as a means of ensuring communities that are typically underserved are given opportunities. What we were getting to hear very early on, once the vaccine was made available to persons beyond healthcare workers, was the difficulty of navigating the system, whether that was computer system or whether that was a phone call, trying to get to an appointment. And reached out to Atrium again and asked them, can we do these mobile vaccine sites without the need of an appointment? They finally agreed to do that, and we had our first one year last Thursday.
And eliminating the whole appointment situation, how did that work out and how many people showed up?
Oh, it was a game changer. We vaccinated 299 persons.
Woo!
Been 300, but we sort of ran out of vaccine.
Oh,
We're here from 8 to 2:30. There were constant lines. The first person got in line to receive her vaccine arrived at the church at 4:45 that morning. Vaccinations did not start until 8.
oh my
Uh,
goodness.
so, so tremendous amount of interest of people wanting to be able to get this.
And it's interesting that you said that's a game changer. I think too often we forget about the audience that you're trying to appeal to, and forget about the barriers and the challenges that they have with technology. So again, kudos to you all for coming up with this and recognizing the need to remove that barrier to get everyone there. So what is your goal? What are you guys reaching? What's the end game after what happened last week?
Well, that was last week was a pilot run. We had another round yesterday at St. Jenkins Presbyterian Church. And again, another 300 people showed up to receive vaccines. So in less than a week, we've been right at 600 persons that have received vaccine without having to have an appointment. We're going to be debriefing with our partners from Atrium Health, and we're looking at continuing to use this model to spread it out through other parts of the Charlotte community that have been underserved, including Asian and Hispanic community as well.
You know, Dr. Woods, just this whole concept and this model and this idea, and we all know one of the first places to go if you're trying to reach the African American community is through the church and our faith leaders. Do
Mhm.
you think the timing could have been a little better to start this process, or are you content with how it started to roll out at this point?
Well, I've sort of talked about this process of flying the plane while you're building it, or
Hmm.
building the plane while you're flying it, however way that goes. There are, you're having to be nimble with this. One of the big problems right now is vaccine supply.
Yeah.
There's a limited supply, and the demand far outseeds the supply. In fact, when we were initially rolling out this first vaccine site, we were told that it would have to be for persons 75 years old and older. And then within 2 days before the event, we were told there's been a change now with the CDC regs. We can go down to 65.
Okay.
And by them going down to 65, that clearly allowed us to get more people vaccinated. But then you got the folk who are 64, 63, 62 showing up, wanting to know, well, why can't I get a vaccine? Again, it's the demand far exceeds the supply, and what we have right now is a supply problem. And
Hmm.
we got to figure out how to get more vaccine in the pipeline. So I'm very interested in seeing how the Biden administration is going to try to see that that gets done.
Yeah, they've got a lofty goal of achieving, I believe, 300 million by this summer. I think what's encouraging is at least we do have a goal in place, somewhat of a benchmark. But Dr. Woods, I really sincerely appreciate you taking the time to talk with me. Thank you for all that you're doing to serve others in the community. I appreciate your leadership. And I know you're busy, probably have to get back to that phone call. But again, thanks, Dr. Woods. And we look forward to hearing more about this pilot program continuing.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and thanks you for all that you do to educate our community and keeping us informed.
Absolutely. Dr. Ricky Woods, guys, at First Baptist Church West, great leadership in our community. And as I mentioned, not just working with seniors, they've got so many programs over there off of Oakland Avenue and the oldest African American Baptist church here in the city. So if you're looking for a good leadership and a good fellowship and good ministry, First Baptist Church West with Dr. Ricky Woods. Now, as we continue, close to half of Americans now say they are eager to get the coronavirus vaccine. And that is a little bit of a change. A new Kaiser Family Foundation study released, it shows today that 41% of the 1,500 adults that they surveyed, they say they want the vaccine. That's up 7% from December. You heard Dr. Woods talk about education. I would probably say that education is helping to fuel that change. And I want to bring in another guest. It's a couple, Mr. G.W. Gates and his beautiful wife, Anna Louise Gates. I'm not sure what we're seeing here as they get their camera adjusted. Um, Mr. G.W. Gates, he's just days away from getting his second dose of the COVID vaccine. And as I try to get their face, Mr. Gates, they're working things out. We are continuing to see more and more people. If you recall, one of the previous shows that I did, I had a 77-year-old, I believe she was, and she was like, nope, not having it, not doing it. And we had someone on with the Mecklenburg County Health Department, Dr. Washington. You know, he kind of got a chuckle out of it because they're very much aware of what they're trying to address and what we're dealing with when trying to educate our community. And here's a couple I thought was really great that have already gotten the vaccine, getting set up for the second vaccination as I look to see if they're able or if we lost them. I'm not exactly sure. Again, I'm trying. There we go. We got their daughter helping them out. So, Mr. D.W. Gates and Anna Louise Gates, thank you all so much for joining. If we could get Mr. Gates to move over probably a little bit, I wanted to ask him, how are you guys doing this afternoon, first of all?
Doing great on a beautiful day like it is out there today. The
Okay.
sun's
So,
out.
yeah, the sun is coming out. So I see you guys are both on the camera. If I could get you, Mr. Gates, to maybe move it over to you first. There you go. And then we'll get her to lean in. I know last year about this time, there you go. In the middle of the pandemic, I'm just curious. It's been a year now. And so last year we were in the middle of this pandemic. How was it for you and your family then? It's technology, folks. So we're still trying to get this worked out
See?
as they're still trying to get their camera together.
D,
I
come
think their
here.
daughter is helping them, Denise, to try to get the camera straight. While they're working on that, I want to talk about some good news today, folks, for high school students in athletics. Looks like the students will get to play ball and soccer and lacrosse and all those things that were put on pause. They are returning on February 8th. The North Carolina High School Athletic Association says that basketball, along with cheer, lacrosse, soccer, all get to continue. And I know it's a tough, tough situation, but my heart goes out to those students, especially when they need exercise. They're not in school. And here's an outlet for them, especially for so many in underserved communities. This was a great outlet and it had to be placed on pause. So I see a couple of you logging on. Good afternoon, Wabanya Henderson. Sharon Forney is logged on as well. And now we got the Gates back. So thank you guys. It looks like Denise, you may need to stick around. I know this is technology, folks, and it can be a challenge. So, but Mr. Gates, tell us what was it like for your family about this time last year? Because we were like in the middle of the pandemic. How was it for you then? Not sure if the volume is working now. Trying to get him still to answer about last year.
Last year,
Yes, there we go.
what was it like?
Yeah, what was it like for you and your family? Because I know you got a close knit family. You do a lot together. So, what was it like during the pandemic about this time last year?
Well, I would say it was a little hectic because we
Uh,
couldn't do what we wanted to do, the things that we used to do. But we couldn't get together. Like I said, couldn't get together. And I have two, two of my daughters are here, and one family in Virginia, and we usually meet up, and we couldn't do that.
oh,
So, but overall, it wasn't bad.
okay. So you were able to adapt. Now, did you
Yeah,
always know that you wanted to get the vaccination whenever it was made available?
Yes, I was looking forward to getting it because with doing my time within in the service, my 20 years in the service, and every 6 months or so we go overseas someplace. We
Yeah.
had to take shots because we had to be aware of something happening like this, So I was looking forward to getting, whenever they got back the serum,
Yes, to
to
make it available.
make it
So,
available.
and you just mentioned, I must say salute. He's a retired veteran, I believe, the Navy, um,
Mm-hmm.
20 years. And so taking the vaccine, no
Yes.
big deal to you. But did you ever have any concerns about some of the issues that we've heard from others in the community, like the effectiveness or whether it's some big conspiracy to wipe out a population or place a chip in your arm? I'm just saying, these are some of the things that I've heard. Did any of that ever cross your mind?
Not really, because I've always, since I've had so many takes, I was always under the concept anything new come out, it's gonna be a glitch in it someplace maybe.
Okay.
And so I had to go. I figured, well, I had to go ahead and take it anyway because of my family. I want them. They wanted me to take it too.
Okay. So kind of
So I didn't really have any problems.
so describe the process when you got the shot. Was it just like any other regular shot because you are used to taking shots as someone that's a service member, a retired service member?
Yeah, it was just like taking any other shots. The worst thing I had, and I didn't think which I didn't think it was bad. Is the lines you have to wait to get the shot and whatnot.
So did you make an
When you
appointment?
first,
before the appointment.
Did you make an
but
appointment?
well, the first one I didn't have to have an appointment.
Okay.
Didn't have to have an appointment for it. But I do have my second shot. I have to have an appointment for it. I have one coming up this Saturday for my
On
second
Saturday.
shot.
So you'll be
And
all done.
yeah, I was kind of worried about that because they was, yeah, yes. But I was kind of worried about that because they were saying that they was running short on a lot of
The dosages, which is what
the
Dr.
vaccinations.
Woods.
So I
Yeah.
didn't know, if I was gonna still get it, or if they was gonna call me and say, "Hey, you have to wait longer."
Well, your lovely wife is there too. I wanted to ask her, Anna Louise Pryor Gates. She also has had the first dosage. I'm just curious, what type of side effects or how did you feel after getting the shot, getting vaccinated?
There was no difference. I had about 14 days before I had my tetanus. So in my right arm, it was due this year. And so I had it in my right arm and felt just like that. It was sore for a little bit, but not long.
So, did you have any hesitation at all, either as far as what we're hearing about in our community, people having concerns about getting? Did you ever even second guess it?
I sure didn't. I said, I had told my children, I said, as soon as I can get it, I'm going to get it. I talked to my doctors and they advised me to. And so as soon as I seen it on TV, they were saying it was here. When he first got his, he had to stand in line. He had to get there. He got there about 7:30 and it didn't start to 10.
Okay.
And so when he got there and we had Denise, our oldest daughter, she got all our paperwork together. And so when I went, I had to make an appointment. She made
Okay.
an appointment for me.
Was
And
that a difficult process for you to do that?
no, not for her. And they
Okay.
would have been for me.
Shout
But
out
she
to
always,
Denise, right?
she'll jump on stuff. And I heard it on the news that
Yeah.
they were starting at 65 and up. I called her early that morning. I said, they're going to start at 65 and up. So she got on it right away and I got my appointment. And I got there like 45 minutes early. They kept saying, don't come early. But I went 45 minutes early because I didn't want to be late.
Yeah.
So when I got there, she said, I'm going to go ahead and check in, but you have to park. I said, I don't care, just as long as I get it.
Well, I have a question, and especially for people that don't have a special Denise in their life, a daughter or son that's able to help them. How would you suggest, or what can they do? Because that's one of the things that Dr. Woods was referring to is, it's a little bit complex for some people that have to go through the process of doing appointments. So, is your only suggestion is find someone to help you to navigate the system?
That's what I was telling. I had talked about. I said it's so unfair for the seniors because a lot of us are not. I mean, a lot of don't know about the internet, making an
Right.
appointment, and that's the only way they can do it. And that seems so unfair to me.
Absolutely.
And I think I would like to see them come up with something else as far as getting them in a, be able to call or something.
So I
But
have one more question, actually two. One of them is, it's interesting. Your husband, he said, he didn't hesitate, and I understand being a retired service member of the Navy in 20 years and taking a shot was just part of the process. But for you, um, why didn't you even give it a second thought?
because I wanted to be able to I'm thinking it's gonna help me if I get around someone with it, it will not let me, I won't be able to get it. Or if I do get it, it might not be as bad. Anything
Yeah.
I can do to and I my number one thing was my mother always told me when we were going to school, take that shot. I don't care if
Mm.
I don't sign the papers. I want you to have it. And that's what I tell my girls all the time. I said, take it. I said, if ever, I said, it doesn't matter. Just take
Yeah.
it. And because either you're going to die from that or something else. I
Oh,
think it's up to God, whatever, you know,
some
so
great
whatever,
words. Thank you
huh?
for I said some great words, and thank you for sharing that. And I was gonna ask you, what advice would you give to others out there? But sounds like you've already shared that, You're gonna
Yeah,
either
I would advise anybody to try and take it and it's just like the rest of the shots. We don't know what side effects we're gonna have from them. If we take we didn't know when I took my tetanus. I've been taking it because I take it every 10 years,
right.
but you don't ever know what kind of side effects you're gonna have from it. Because my
Absolutely.
middle daughter, when she takes the tetanus, her arm swells. With
Oh,
my other ones, it don't bother them. So it's just a matter. And
yeah.
neither one of us had any problems, no redness or anything.
Well, thank you all for sharing. Is there anything else you want to share, Mr. Gates, as we wrap up?
Yeah, I I think like they she that like the appointments she had to have. Okay,
Yes.
the day I went there, it was no appointment. Now there was tons of people there, and it didn't have to have no appointments. And they had people coming to the cars and filling out the paperwork then.
Okay.
And
So people were helping them out.
people were yeah, they had people helping them out. And I think
Yeah.
that that was a good way, because still gonna be some people that can't get nobody to come help them make out that appointment at home.
All right. Great, great stuff. Well, thank you all so much, Anna and GW Gates. I appreciate you all so much. And a perfect example of people in our community who are not hesitating, don't have a problem getting the shot. And so nice of them to share their testimony and to share some words of wisdom. And shout out to their daughter, Denise, for being the one to help them navigate everything, including this interview. Thank you so much. Now, from time to time, I like to talk about some controversial stuff in the community. And it's a little tough. This one right here, though, is certainly worth a conversation. This week, we had to address the maskless worship event at Elevation Church, Valentine. Excuse me. Right now, I posted this on my Facebook page as well. The Mecklenburg County Health Department is still keeping a close watch for the COVID outbreak as a result of this video that surfaced last week. Now, according to social media posts, a little over 100 people attended the worship recording, and they were getting it in for sure. And they were tested for COVID before entering the church. Now, Mecklenburg County Health Director Gibby Harris, she cautions that even a negative COVID test before an event is not foolproof since the virus has a lengthy incubation period. Lots of debate on Facebook, and some people like Sharonda Cathy, she's saying, you know what? This is unlike, it's nothing that is not like the outbreak at the House of Prayer. The Elevation story has just had a snippet of coverage, and others say the event was irresponsible and a slap in the face for those who worked really hard to stop this spread. So the controversy around it is some people are saying, wait a minute, we saw the House of Prayer over and over and over, the story over and over and over, even if they showed up at the church. And then this elevation worship story, they feel like it was just kind of in passing and not a whole lot of conversation about it. And again, some people are saying, we're working really hard. You heard the Gates, the sacrifice they were making, have been making, and still making, the mask and washing your hands and the physical distancing. And then you see for the worship service, they all gathering and seem to just kind of ignore these precautions. And Gibby Harris said, she's not denying that they have the right to worship. She's just saying you got to take these precautions. Now, Sarah Hartzell also added she thought it was very reckless and not very godly. And then there are those like Natalie Whiteman who's saying God is bigger than COVID and ministry doesn't have to stop for a virus. And it's interesting that that's a lot of the back and forth in the faith community. Now we're checking the Mecklenburg County numbers to see if any outbreaks will come from this event. But in the meantime, I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Share them with me. You're on the page right now. Put your thoughts there and let me know what you think about this story. In addition to that, I have the worship video again posted right here on this page, and I would love to hear your feedback right here on the page. And the final thought says this has been a great show to share some really great information. Felicia Carver says it's black and white, and I what she's implying is again possibly double standards is what's happening here. Also, Clarence Bell says it's unacceptable. I don't care what church it is, but it's elevation and it's a double standard. And folks, that's what a lot of people are saying. It seems to be one of those situations where it's not being applied fairly. I will say I did reach out to United House of Prayer because from what I understand, even their situation, some of it really involved them just returning to regular church service. And a lot of ministries are doing regular church service and are abiding by the rules that have been laid out. But all the same, beyond that, continue to share your thoughts here on my Facebook page. And I would also like to thank you for joining us. We're going to dive in a little bit more deeper and continue to have these conversations. This is Real Talk, just a very in your face, candid conversations about COVID and its effect in our community. There recently was a survey about from Wisconsin schools where they said with the precautions in place, and now I've gone from the church to the school. My producer hates when I do that, but I just wanted to throw this in as we close things out. Um, the schools in Wisconsin, they're saying that if the precautions are put in place, there is minimal exposure to COVID-19. And that's for some saying, bring these kids back. You got to get them back in school. Again, glad to see that they're returning to some of the sports that are in season right now on February 8th. Thank you for joining Canceling COVID. We're going to continue with this platform on Wednesdays and Fridays. So I'll see you back here at 1 p.m. Make sure you have a great day. As always, life's challenges make you better, not bitter. Together, we're going to work to cancel COVID. Have a great afternoon.